Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Today we are doing online presentation related to speech communities and language change. In our group, we have 5 people. There are Ahmad Razif, Fadilah Andini, Junia Azhari, Putri Widatul Jannah, and the last one, Samuel Roy. Next slide. Here we have our first topic. It's about speech communities. This topic is going to be explained by Junia. Junia, time is yours.
Thank you, Fadilah. And today I want to explain about speech communities. Definition of speech communities. The first is from Chomsky. As a theoretical construct, it is thought to be ideal, completely homogeneous. And the second is from Lyon. Real speech community, all those people who use a given language or dialect. And the third is from Leboeuf. The speech community is not defined by any market agreement in the use of language elements, so much as by participants in a set of shared norms. These norms may be observed in over time types of evaluative behavior, and by the uniformity of abstract patterns, of which are invariant in respect to particular level of usage. So, speech community is a group of speakers who share a language and patterns of language use. It means that the definition of a speech community is a group of people who speak the same language and share the same dialect, words, and grammar rules of a language as a standard. And I will give back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you, Junia, for delivering our first topic. Next, we have our second and third topic. Our second topic is about intersecting communities, and our third topic is about network and repertoire. So these two topics are going to be explained by Putri Wirdatul. Wirda, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Fadila. So today I will explain about intersecting communities and networks and repertoire. So the first is intersecting communities. Intersecting communities, it is a part of speech community. Intersecting communities are communities which have things in common. And networking and repertoire, it is show that a person can be part of various speech communities, some that intersect and some that do not. Certain individuals may be in one or more groups, but do not others. Thank you, Fadila. I will give back to the moderator.
Thank you, Wirda. Here we have our next topic. It's about language changes. This topic is going to be explained by myself. Why does language change? Language changes for several reasons. First, it changes because the needs of its speakers change. New technologies, new products, and new experiences require new words to refer to them clearly and efficiently. There are factors that affect language changes. Factors that influence it include gender, age, social class, etc. The factors that influence the speaker's or writer's choice of language vary, and they include the context that surrounds the speaker or writer, the age, the gender, culture, etc. Creoles and pidgins. The word pidgin refers to a language used as a means of communications between people who do not share a common language. When a pidgin develops into a more complex language and becomes the first language of a community, it is called Creole. In a nutshell, pidgins are learned as a second language in order to facilitate communication, while Creoles are spoken as first languages. Creoles have more extensive vocabularies than pidgin languages and more complex grammatical structures. How does pidgin become Creole? Pidgins are language systems which develop when communication is needed between groups of people who do not share the same native language system. A pidgin becomes a Creole when it becomes a language learned by the children of the next generation and become native language. The most notable difference between pidgins and Creoles is that a Creole language must be a native tongue learned as a first language from infancy. Pidgins, on the other hand, must be learned as a second language and are not considered native tongues by many people. Okay, next slide. Here we have our next topic, some changes in progress. This topic is going to be explained by Ahmad Rajiv. Rajiv, time is yours.
Thank you. There are some changes in progress in the IFCI, which is Creole and Pidgin in 1980, 1983, and 1988 in Women language variation in Norwich. There are Labov in 1963 in some changes in progress in Martha Vineyard and Women Creole. Then also the Exchequer in 1978 in variation between boys and girls in England. Norwegian bookmark has a gender, feminine, masculine, and neuter. Each noun is associated with one specific gender only. There are no simple rules for knowing which noun belongs to which gender. The only way to learn which is to memorize it. Gender difference in language use appear early. Girls are more likely to use language in context of emotional relationships with others, while boys more likely to use language to describe objects and events. I will turn to moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rajiv. Here we have the mechanisms of language change. This topic is going to be explained by Samuel Roy. Samuel Roy, time is yours.
Thank you for the time. I'll be explaining about the mechanism of language change. It differs into three types. The first one is borrowing. Borrowing happens in almost all language and it tends to be recurrent in the speech of the individual and widespread across the community. The stock of established loanwords is available to monolingual speakers of the recipient language who access them normally along with the remainder of the recipient language lexicon. The second one is code switching. There is an involvement of morphology, syntax, or phonology of the lexified language in code switching. It happens in a large number of contexts, and usually the speakers are fluent bilinguals or multilinguals, and they can switch between language or dialect. The third one and the last one is interference. Speakers acquiring a new language or fluent in two languages may transfer structures or syntax from one language to the other. I'll give it back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you, Samuel. Next, we have our last topic. It's about language death. This topic is going to be explained again by Ahmad Rajiv. Rajiv, time is yours.
Okay, in the last material, language death is a phenomenon where a language dies when its last native speaker dies. It is a process where no one spoke the language fluently with its own specific linguistic rules. In every community they have own language. When the last native of the speakers die, they brought their entire culture with them, including the native language. It is a process where no one spoke again, and yet there are can be distinctively when there is only one remaining native speaker. The language has died before they pass away because language is a spoken speech between two people. So if there is only one people remaining, it effectively died as the last language. For example, there is Kasabe language from Africa, which was discovered on November 4th in 1995. Along it was speaker Bogon. But unfortunately, the day after the discovery, Bogon passed away, taking the language with him, the Kasabe, in the next day, in November 5th, in 1995. I think that's all for me. Return to moderator.
Okay, thank you everyone for delivering our presentation today with a really good explanation. I hope we can get new information and new knowledge related to speech communities and language changes. Thank you for giving attention to our presentation. Stay healthy and stay positive. Thank you.
Thank